So we're here at Newark Air Museum with Phil Keeble and David Gledhill. So tell us why we're here and what your new book is about.
Well, we've just launched a new book, and it launched around about 2 weeks ago. It's out on Amazon. From,
2 years late.
With Fonthill Media, which is a company that we've both been associated with in the past. We wanted to cover phantom training. You know, what happened to guys when they went through operational training to get onto a squadron, and most importantly, what were the sort of trials and tribulations on the way. Now, I thought about doing that a good few years ago, but I think just giving the navigator story might have been a little bit boring. And then suddenly I came across I had a little
pilot
opening, and I thought, I know a pilot who can write books. And,
hang on,
and we
my
got together.
idea. I thought I need a navigator, cheeky sod.
And sure enough, we came up with the book, put it together between us, and it's called Ardua, Training an RAF Phantom Crew.
It was good. It was the highlight. Hang on, it was the highlight of my life. It was
See what I had to put up with during my flying career.
I don't know.
No, it was excellent. I've known Dave since he was in shorts, and we flew together on the Phantom OCU when I was a student. He was an instructor, and then I went off to a squadron, the Mighty 43. And then came back as an instructor, flew with Dave a lot then. We actually stood QRA at Lucas together, didn't we?
We did. That was my one and only FG1 trip.
Yeah,
So,
we flew the FG1 at Lucas for
their.
their summer ball when 43 were the duty squadron, and we stood in their place, which was brilliant. I got to travel first class on the railways because he was a squadron leader. So, I mean, win-win. And then we both eventually changed roles over to the F3, or the F2 to be exact,
It was.
and then the F3. So I've known Dave a very long time, and I've got the utmost respect for him. And it was a pleasure, and more than a pleasure, it was a thrill to actually write a book together with a navigator.
I'd like to echo that thought. It was a really good experience, and
Yeah.
I think we learned a lot on the way, and most importantly, it was fun doing it.
Yeah. So did you have to fact check each other with
Yes.
every paragraph you wrote? Or?
Oh, many times.
Many times. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was the one thing. There were still mistakes in the book, I'm sure. You know, the experts will spot them, but you know, we've tried hard to avoid them.
I think between us, we must have read the book about 20 times each, and still little errors creep through.
Yeah.
But there you go.
So how long did the idea take from, you talking about it to becoming now available to the public?
It was quite quick, wasn't it? We'd sort of moulded
Less than
over
2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, we moulded over for maybe 6 months, and then actually said, let's go ahead and do it. And the writing, Phil was right off the marks. I mean, he was instant, and within a couple of months he had his bit written. I was a little bit tardy because I had another book on the go, but got there in the end. But probably only the writing probably only took 6 months or so.
I formulated the idea a while before that and wrote all my notes out, so I knew what I was going to write. I was just waiting for Dave to sort of, a bit like the reluctant bridesmaid, to say, yeah, I do. And when he said I do, then it was just easy. The first book took me 30 years, which was a bit longer, or 3 years on a typewriter. And this one, yeah, it was a lot quicker. You're only writing half a book, you see, because although there's a lot of cross-checking, which takes up time as well. So, yeah, it was a very rewarding time.
So where can we find the book online?
Well, mostly it's on Amazon, but Fonthill Media sell direct as well. But we have a few signed copies left that we're very happy to let people have. And but yes, if you Google the name of the book, it pops up all over the place.
And we're in front of obviously 490 here. Did you both fly the jet?
I certainly did.
I can lie. I can't remember. I forgot to check my logbook before I left, which is ridiculous.
It was on 228 at the same time that we were, so chances are probably that you did.
490?
Yeah.
Probably.
The airplane started off at Wattisham in my time on my first squadron, and then I flew it there, and then it moved out to 92, and I followed it to Germany, and then it stayed on 92, so I flew it a number of times there, hence the name on the side. I was crewed there with another pilot that shall remain nameless, as Phil seems a little
Tony
bit miffed
Wheeler.
about it. And then it came back to Coningsby, and it flew on the OCU as well. So
Must have done.
It followed me around the airfield.
Actually, I probably didn't fly it from the back seat.
Not from the back seat, because it was a single sticker.
Single sticker, but I probably flew it from the front, yeah.
So did you guys ever crew together?
Oh yes.
Many
Have you got any
times.
stories?
Yeah.
You must do.
I say that, it wasn't the same on the OCU, which is where we were on the same unit. On the OCU, we tended to fly with the students most of the time, but there were things called staff continuation training rides. That was where we kept our hand in at doing the operational type stuff, and we flew together then. And as Phil says, we actually went to Lucas and Sat Q together, so that was
we flew on exercises, tachyvalves and mini valves and maxi valves and whatever else there was, NATO exercises, yeah.
We often used to get the chance to get airborne as the tethered goat for the 2v1 air combat sorties, and that was where one of the staff crews would act as number 3 and be the nasty guy and go chase the students and try and give them a hard time. And we often got the chance to do that, didn't we? Which was lots of fun.
Because there's that picture that I put on our group of you two standing, was it on Curare at that time?
It was. That was that day at Lucas.
Defending the
picture of you two together?
Yes.
Probably is. Yeah.
Defending the world.
Defending the world.
Against the Russian hordes.
But you know they didn't even buy us a beer 43.
No, it was
if 43 are watching this, you owe us a beer.
You get me in trouble now.
Huh?
Nor did we get a bear that night either.
No, we didn't get a bear or a beer.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a Phantom so special?
It's a beast of an airplane. You just look at this, is just a fraction of the aircraft. It was a big airplane, it was a mean aircraft, and it took a lot of persuasion to fly properly. So from a pilot's point of view, on the conversion phase, it was not that pleasurable apart from the kick in the pants from the thrust, which was magnificent. But to fly it properly took years, and it would be the end of your first tour before I think most guys were good at flying the Phantom. Now, being difficult to fly meant that when you got it right, you were proud. You were proud of yourself, you were proud of the airplane, and it was a good airplane to go to war in. I mean, it carried 8 missiles, a gun, selection of tanks, whatever you wanted. It had a good radar relative to its age, and it had good fuel. You know, there wasn't much that it didn't have really. It had chaff and flares, it had RHWR. So it had, for 1980s or wherever, it had the kit. And, you know, if you look at what was around in the world at the time, there was not a lot to touch it. The Lightning that sits behind you here, you know, was short range, limited on missiles, poor radar, you know. And so you've really got to wait for the next generation, the F-15, F-16, F-18, F-14, which I know you love, before you got a quantum leap forward. I was going to say the Tornado, but I held myself in check then. To be fair to the old girl, the Tornado, not that we mention it very often, it was towards the end of its time, it came good, very, very good. But to begin with, it wasn't, and that was the disappointment. Coming off that and flying an aircraft which was a backward step in terms of systems and operation, you know, took a lot to swallow, and there's a lot of, not ill feeling, but a lot of people, you know, are not that happy about it. But had they stayed on the fleet and seen it through till it got Link 14 and all sorts of other fancy gizmos and better radars, better software and so on, I think that's probably what made the Phantom so good. And of course, from a back seater's point of view.
Yeah, in the back seat. I mean, it was called the ergonomic slum, and it was almost thrown together in the back. It was quite uncomfortable. You didn't have any air conditioning in the back, so the pilot had the controls, so it got hot and sweaty back there. But having said that, in its early days, sort of the mid-70s, it really was the best aeroplane in Europe as a fighter, because it had the best radar, it had a look-down, shoot-down capability, which nobody else had at that time. So it really could hold its own. It was only later, when the sort of 4th generation aeroplanes started coming into service, that it started to struggle. But it was a handful in the back. It was an art, not a science. You really had to play with the kit and coax it along. It was very unreliable at times. So yeah, big challenges, but it had charisma. The aeroplane just had something that some of the later aeroplanes don't have, I don't think.
Yeah. And did it bring back any memories for both of you sitting in the front and back?
Horror. I had forgotten just how the thing was dated, you know, because you've got this memory locked into your experience, and you go, yeah, it was wonderful, everything was glorious, it was golden, and you get in and you go, by gum, that's old and ancient, you know. But once you've sat in it for a few minutes, as Dave said when we were up there, you can put your hand to everything because it's there and it hasn't changed. It's not electronic, it's not a glass cockpit, nothing changes. So it means you could probably, we could try flying it tomorrow, shall we?
Probably could.
We'll have a trip tomorrow.
Well, this one might be a bit of a challenge, but...
No. Big enough engines, we'll get that airborne.
So where can we find the book and yourselves online?
Well, the book has its own Facebook page, so if you Google the title, Per Ardua Training an RAF Phantom Crew, that will pop up, and you can speak to us and drop messages there. But yes, that's probably the best way, but Amazon have the book available, as do Fonthill Media.
And online, if you go to one word, philipkeeble.com, I have a web page where most of the stuff's there, not all of it. I'm trying to get my web page master to update it, but he won't. He's too busy. And you've got one, haven't you?
I have, and I wish I could remember the
back of the
actual
book.
URL, but it's in the back of the book. But if you Google David Gledhill author, then I'll pop up everywhere.
Cheers, chaps.